Hello everybody, I am Fuzzyface. Welcome back to this Motorsport Manager career. We're back with Project Audi. We're doing pretty well. We're here with the 8th race of the 3rd season. We're heading to Guildford, which is the British Grand Prix. It is going to be a rainy race. Luckily, qualifying looks to be dry at the moment. If we just head on over to the standings, Vettel and Gasly are doing pretty well this season. Leclerc is currently leading the way, the only driver to win more than one race so far this season. He has a 25-point gap to Sebastian Vettel. Mercedes, meanwhile, have overtaken us at the top of the constructors' standings, 2 points ahead of us. It's not a massive gap. Hopefully, we can get back on top after this race, but I don't know how we're going to do here in Britain. McLaren, Ford, Haas doing pretty well. Alfa Romeo all the way up there, whereas Ferrari and Red Bull are struggling. If we move on to the car development screen, not a lot of teams doing upgrades between the last race and this race. There wasn't a lot of time between, so if you didn't have a part in production, it wasn't going to be built for this race. Only 3 AI teams have gone ahead and put new parts on their car. That is Red Bull with a new gearbox, AlphaTauri with a new rear wing, and Ford Haas have put a new engine in their car, the first upgrade that they've done to their engine. Meanwhile, we have got our new gearbox going into the car. We're currently working on a new engine, so hopefully that is 32 days from now. It's going to be a while, but it is going to be done in time for Milan, which is pretty decent because that is where the engine is crucial. So it should be all right for that race, as it is our gearbox, which was dreadful before this race, has put us up into 4th. The engine from Ford Haas has put them up to 4th as well. And the rear wing from Red Bull hasn't done a lot, but I think it's pushed them up in the overall terms of things. They are now 8th overall. We have boosted ourselves back up to the top of the order. Ford Haas, to that new engine, are at the top. McLaren have slipped to 3rd. Ferrari are 4th, even though they're doing pretty terrible this season. And Mercedes are currently 5th. And we've got the 2 Renault powered cars of Williams, and then the works team of Renault are 9th and 10th. Not a good development path for them this season. Red Bull are 8th, as we said. Alfa Romeo still sticking around the top 6 teams here. Meanwhile, just before we get into the race, we had some interesting news. Sebastian now fancies Pierre Gasly, which gives him a +10 morale boost. So a little bit of romance going on between our 2 drivers. I mean, that's great. And Audi, we're going to take the Audi sponsorship, obviously, just as we usually do, 8 and 7. There's no real reason to go with anything different. It is going to be a rainy race. Luckily, as I said, qualifying is going to be clear. Hopefully, it's going to be clear. Very high tyre wear, but it should just still be a one-stop race. And we've got both drivers. I mean, the cars are actually the same. If we just quickly sort that out, it just needed swapping between them a little bit. They're both now delighted with the parts in the car, so let's get into practice, which we will just skip over because it doesn't really make much sense here as I just hit my microphone. We will be back in a second for qualifying. So practice is over. We are looking pretty quick. The McLaren's looking quick as well, although Kevin Magnussen, right at the end of the session in the Aston Martin, set the quickest time of the entire session. We've got the Ford Haas looking quick, especially with Newgarden. Teams all over the place, as we know. Practice doesn't really mean much here. Hopefully it's going to be dry during qualifying. We're not going to look at the weather. We're just going to run as we normally would. Hopefully it's going to be dry. Did say it was going to be dry, but when there's rain in the race, there is sometimes the chance that it could rain in qualifying as well. But anyway, we're pretty much there with the setups. We're not really going to change much there. Just set up a bit better for Gasly. We're just going to leave things as we are, but leave it about 30 seconds before we get out of the pits here. We can't actually see the pit lane. Are we right at the end of it? We're right at the wrong end, so we can't really judge our timing coming out of the pits. Although it looks like we've got Gasly ahead of a few cars, and we'll get Vettel out as well. Hopefully he's going to be in some clear air as well, which he is. So here we go. Qualifying about to get underway. I think it is one of the Mercedes. Charles Leclerc is the first car across the line. A 1:29.4 is the aim. I think that's the quickest time from practice. I think Charles should go a lot quicker than that, although Valtteri in an Alfa Romeo is the quickest over the first sector here. Looks like Bottas is going to put his car into first place after the first run. A 1:27.9, and Gasly not that far behind. Obviously Gasly does have the, what is it called, the timesheet hero trait, which gives him a +2 to all his stats during qualifying and practice. Just behind here, Gasly, Vettel, but a long way behind, half a second off, but puts him down into 17th. So Gasly is going to be the car that we run second for the second part of qualifying. But Valtteri Bottas and Mick Schumacher, the Alfa Romeo, seemingly suiting this track really well, and we've got the two Mercedes right up there as well. Russell in 4th, Leclerc in 5th, Gasly. Kevin Magnussen actually goes quickest on his second run here, so we are about to get out for our second run here. Too busy looking at the timesheets there. I don't think we're too late here, but Gasly is going to get out second. I think most of the other cars are out. Alonso's on his fast lap, goes in a 2-second in that Red Bull, which is pretty surprising. I think Alonso's still yet to score points this season, but he does have a form rating of 10. Could Alonso be on for his first points here? We do really need Vettel to improve here. Almost 2 tenths off on the first sector. Is this going to be enough to improve? He's about a second down at the moment. Gasly is slower this lap than the last lap. Vettel is going to improve, but not by that much. Vettel doesn't improve. Well, he improves a tiny bit, about a tenth of a second, but doesn't jump up the order. And Gasly has been pushed down on the second run, doesn't improve as well. And we get the two Mercedes on the front row of the grid. The Force House of Newgarden is 3rd, his teammate 15th, Verstappen. Not getting as much out of the Ford Haas as his teammate Joseph Newgarden. And the two Alphas are up there. Just one Ferrari in the top 10, and that is Daniel Ricciardo. Hamilton caught out all the way down in 18th. Will start alongside Sebastian Vettel here on the grid. I mean, usually you'd expect them to be 1-2, wouldn't you? But they're starting from, like, what is that? That is the 9th row of the grid. Pretty shocking there. But anyway, that is the grid order for the 2023 British Grand Prix. So when are we going to get rain here? It is going to start around about lap 12. Can we get a super soft through to that point? That is the question. Or would it be more beneficial to start on the softs and be able to push a little bit, because tyre wear is high here. 11 laps. It is sort of pushing it, but we do have to, since we're in the top 10, we do have to go with the softest tyre compound with Gasly. So we can't really change it. I could change it, but under my own rules, not the rules of the game, just my own enforced rules, we do have to do that. So Vettel does have a little bit more room to push on the tyres from the off than Pierre Gasly does. But anyway, let's get into the grid order here. And on the front row of the grid, we've got the two silver arrows, Charles Leclerc, George Russell just behind him. I don't think we've had a Mercedes 1-2 in quite a while. But anyway, Newgarden starts from 3rd in the Ford Haas. Magnussen is 4th. Really good qualifying from him in the Aston Martin. If you remember back to the first season as well, he was getting some really good qualifying performances out of the Williams at that point. Alonso 5th, Bottas 6th in the Alfa Romeo. Gasly will start from 7th. Ricciardo 8th in the Ferrari. He's the highest prancing horse on the grid. Schumacher 9th on a pair of used super sauce, so he's definitely not going to get through to the rain. So that is a race wreck there for Alfa Romeo. I don't know why they're doing that. Esteban Ocon has a dodgy neck. We'll start from 10th in a Renault, 11th for Norris, 12th for Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin. That's not too bad as well. The Aston Martin isn't that good at the moment. Sergio Perez, 13th in the Renault, 14th for Carlos Sainz. Verstappen all the way down in 15th. Albon, 16th. Vips in the Red Bull, 17th. Hamilton all the way down in 18th from the 9th row. And Vettel will be just behind him. 19th. Hulkenberg is 20th, Tsunoda 21st, Nick de Vries is 22nd in that Williams, Giovinazzi 23rd in the Prema, and then the other Prema of Robert Schwartzman will start from 24th. So we're going to go with Gasly here since he's far enough up the grid, and we can see the front of the order from here as well. We see the Mercedes get away well, but that is Newgarden storming away at the start here, gets himself into first place. That new power in that Ford Haas. Absolutely crucial there at the start. Alonso has a pretty decent start as well. Magnussen's dropped down a little bit. Ricciardo, meanwhile, has managed to get past Pierre Gasly, and we do not want the tyre. The temperature's not that high, but we don't really want to go through this tyre because we want to go as far as we can until the rain, so we don't really want to be pushing from this point forward. We just want to run a nice race and get through to when the rain starts. And meanwhile, we just want to dial down a little bit with Vettel, as Gasly has dropped all the way down to 12th here. Newgarden is still in first place. Alonso has managed to jump the two Mercedes here as well. Pretty good for him. He's got a 10 form rating. Newgarden is a little bit off form. Leclerc 5.2. Leclerc is a 4.4. So the Mercedes driver's not on form here as well. Neither of our drivers are on form that much, although it looks like Charles Leclerc is going to get past that Red Bull. That Red Bull pretty slow this season. He should be pretty open for the two Mercedes getting back past him here, whereas we're just going to turn Gasly down here. He's sandwiched in between the two McLarens at the moment, but it's all just about getting through to the rain. We should be able to get through to the rain with Sebastian Vettel. He's 16th. might be a good position because everyone else is on super softs. So Vettel, we did have the luxury of starting him on the soft since he was outside the top 10. And he's in a pretty good position here. If he can just sit 16th place, stay somewhat close to the other cars. It is a normal pit lane here. We don't cut any corners, so it's not going to be a pit stop that's any quicker than usual. But here we go with Pierre Gasly. Can we... We're just going to be sitting in this position now because we can't really push the tyres. I would put them in conserve mode, but then they would get too cold and we'd be running even slower than we are at the moment. Newgarden has opened up a second gap. Alonso has lost places to both of the Silver Arrows now. Kevin Magnussen is doing pretty well in holding on to 5th place. Valtteri Bottas is behind him. Alexander Albon in an AlphaTauri doing pretty decently here because Vips, who took over his seat at Red Bull last season, is all the way down in 22nd. Where are they at the moment? Vips is 10th. And Albon is 17th. Albon's got quite a few points this season. Vip's still doing pretty well. I mean, there's not that much difference between the Red Bull and the AlphaTauri this season, though. So that is the main problem that they've got to deal with at Red Bull Honda. But anyway, we're coming under pressure from Lando Norris now. We can't really push these tyres. We can go a little bit more aggressive with the fuel, but that would mean trying to recover at the end of the race. We'll try hold off Lando Norris here. It doesn't look like we're going to be able to get that done though. Norris, we're going to concede this position unless Gasly can get it around the outside. It looks like we're going to get Sergio Perez coming, try to go 3 wide with us, but Perez has to back off and we finally lose out to Lando Norris. We're going to go switch back into high mode here as these tyres continue to cool here. And that is a problem that we're going to have to run with here. We are at 66%, 64% for the car in front of us of Lando Norris. What are the top of the order cars? Obviously Schumacher was on a pair of used super softs from a start. He's at 51. So I'm guessing some of these AI cars might have to pit before the rain actually starts, which is going to be a problem for them. They are going to go onto the Inters. It's what the AI usually does, even though it will be a dry track for maybe a lap or two. So that is going to be a bonus for us if we can just sort of nurse and get Gasly through to the point where the rain's starting. As we get that position back from Lando Norris, Lance Stroll is now in 10th as Sainz has passed him. Should we have the pace? No, we're going to lose out to Norris. Norris again, a pretty good battle going on between Gasly and Lando Norris here over these last couple of laps, and Vettel is currently still stuck in 16th place as Newgarden is just tearing away with things here. Although to get to that position, he has gone through that tyre to keep that Ford Haas away from the 2 Mercedes. He's pushed pretty hard on that tyre. He's almost like 10% more tyre used than the 2 Mercedes behind him, so Newgarden is going to struggle to get through to when the rain is starting. So Ford Haas might be in for some tough times after they make a pit stop. Is Norris just idling along as well? No, he's going a little bit high on the fuel mode as well. We're just going to concede that point as well because we do have to recover some of this fuel at the moment. We should be a little bit quicker, about 2 tenths quicker, because we're almost a lap down on fuel. So you should be, since we've got a little bit of a lighter fuel tank, we should be a little bit quicker. It just depends how much fuel the McLarens have used in front of us, and it looks like we're just going to have to struggle along in 12th place here until the rain starts. Vettel is still stuck in 16th place here. He's under pressure from Mick Schumacher. Schumacher's going to go around the outside, and the tyres are just cooling down here, and that is the big problem here. We're at about the same tyre wear use as the cars in front of us, but we're just going to try see how far we can get these super softs into this race. We can't really afford to push because we do need to stretch for the rain. We can possibly go a little bit with Vettel as well. He's used a little bit less fuel than Pierre Gasly, so we might get pushing because Vettel has now dropped behind Max Verstappen, not doing too well in that Ford Haas. Schumacher's got in front of him, although Schumacher's going to be pitting any lap now. We're just going to see what the tyre wear rate is for Schumacher to pit, because I think it's 20% or is it 15% for the super softs to drop off. We're just going to keep yep, we know your tyres are underheated, Gasly. Nothing we can do about it. We'll just try to stretch. This rain will be starting at any point, and I think Schumacher should be in this lap as everyone comes across the line to start the 11th lap. We're almost at the halfway point of the race, and Schumacher's staying out here, which is a surprise. We're pushing with Vettel. Vettel is up into 15th now. We've seen a few of the cars from the the top of the order get in. They're on the Inters a lap, maybe 2 laps too early, and we are just gonna, I think we're gonna be able to get past them maybe, hopefully. Other cars come into the pits this lap. The rain isn't starting as well, so this is gonna bode well for us. A lot of these AI cars. Is Schumacher starting to cool down here? Is he going off the boil a little bit? And his tyres have just dropped off as they've hit the 15% mark. So we've got another lap in these tyres for Pierre Gasly. He is definitely going to have to come in for the Inter, so after this lap. Should be a clean pit stop, and meanwhile we might as well just get to pushing as well. With Vettel, these tyres are not overheated, and Vettel has got pretty close to Pierre Gasly now, pushing with him starting on the soft. This rain hasn't started yet. There's another lap that we can go with Sebastian Vettel here, as Gasly is running pretty slow. His tyres are about to go off, or have they gone off? No, not quite yet. It's about a few more turns to go. We're going to push with Gasly though, because his tyres are definitely going to go off before he gets across the line, so we're going to have to push to try and concede that point. And the rain has now started. A lot of cars diving into the pits. We're still not on the point. The crossover point has not come yet. But we've got another lap in these tyres for Sebastian Vettel. Newgarden is on front on the Inters, as you can see. We're just flying through the field at the moment. Vettel is going to be ahead of Gasly after the pit stops. And these Inters can do 15 laps, so we can push on them a little bit from the outset. And the temperatures are going to increase as the rain gets heavier at the end of the race. But Gasly is out into 11th place here. We're going to get back into high mode and high mode. And Vettel is currently running 3rd. He should be ahead of Gasly here. Can we get him ahead of Kevin Magnussen? A crossover point has not really come yet, so the dries were still working at this point. We've got an AlphaTauri into the pits alongside us, but that will pit there. And Vettel, oh, we just lose out to Kevin Magnussen there. We'll see if we can get past him on track. As we saw with Newgarden having to come in a little bit early, he has fallen behind the 2 Mercedes now. So Mercedes will be extending their gap in the Constructors' Championship. Bottas doing pretty well. Alonso still holding on here. Is up in the top 10. Are these Alonso's first points this season? If we just have a quick look. We can't actually see him because he's not actually in the top 20. No, he's not. He's not in the top 20. So these must be his first points of the season for Fernando Alonso, but he still will not get into the top 20 cars. Vettel is currently behind Alexander Albon. We should be able to get past this AlphaTauri, especially pushing all out. If we can get that move done, get up into 7th place, then we can start cooling down and recovering with Sebastian Vettel. Gasly, we do have some room to push. We want to clear this Aston Martin and the AlphaTauri in front of us. We do know we're quicker than them, so that is a move that we do need to get done. So if we can go into high mode here, full on attack mode with Pierre Gasly, see if we can get past the Aston Martin in front. Looks like we're going to get the run on Kevin Magnussen here, coming down the home straight, and Magnussen dives into the pits. What's Magnussen doing? Why has Magnussen come into the pits? That should have got him through to the end of the race. Why have Aston Martin come into the pits? Whatever the reason, it works for me. So we're now right on the back of the AlphaTauri of Alexander Albon. I mean, this isn't too bad a race for us. I know we do have the second best car on the grid at the moment, but obviously our engine does let us down here around Guildford, because the engine is one of the most crucial parts. And if we can finish 7th from 8, I'd be pretty happy with that. A little disappointed that we're behind the Red Bull, considering we've got a much better car than Red Bull, but Alonso is on top form around here, and that's pretty much the reason why he is so far up the order. Possibly the new gearbox as well for them, working pretty well. Our gearbox has saved us here as well. I think we could have been in for a pretty bad race, but Gasly is coming under a little bit of pressure here back from the AlphaTauri, so we're going to switch back into high mode with Pierre Gasly, try and keep this 8th place, because Lewis Hamilton has moved himself up into the points. Ricciardo though, where's Ricciardo gone? 13th. Just seems wherever Ricciardo goes. I mean, he had 2 really bad seasons with Renault. Thought he was going to have a good season with Ferrari this season. Ferrari don't have the same mistakes with their strategy that Renault were having. He just can't, wherever he goes, Daniel Ricciardo just can't seem to put it together at all in this game. And it looks like we're going to start to get away now from the AlphaTauri, hopefully. Have we got room to push this tyre? 5 laps to go. 8 laps. Have we got room to push with Vettel? I don't think we can get anywhere close to the Red Bull in front of the McLaren or the Red Bull in front of us. But we might as well have an attempt here, haven't we? Because we've got a lot of tyre life in for Sebastian Vettel here. Gasly doesn't have that luxury, but he is away from Alexander Albon now, so we can just turn him down and we'll try concentrate on Sebastian Vettel, see how quick we can get him going. Obviously, we don't want this tyre to overheat and keep overheating, so we don't have too many laps so we can keep pushing. Obviously, it is raining as well. Pushing all out can lead to mistakes, but we are going to go for it here. We want to get somewhere close to Norris. I don't think we're going to be that much quicker than him pushing all out, because Norris is doing the same at the moment as well. So we'll just quickly speed up and see what the lap times were like on that last lap. And we're tiny little bit quicker, although Norris has chosen to cool down this lap. We're pretty much there with the fuel as well, so we'll go another lap. We've got about 3 laps to go in this race. I mean, it's not enough to pull back a 4.6 second gap. I mean, we are closing that gap about a second quicker. 4 seconds to go. I mean, if we just keep pushing all out to the end of the race, I mean, we can't do that with the fuel. If we just keep pushing here, is Norris going to keep going slow? I mean, he's recovering his fuel now at the moment, which is good for us. We're not going to risk too much with Gasly because he's got away from the AlphaTauri of Alexander Albon. Can we still close down here? Even though we're running hot, it is not too big of a problem because we do have enough tyre life to get through to the end of the race. Newgarden has pitted as well, as him going super hard on that super soft has not paid off for him at all. Gasly has now got in front of him. We will go into high mode. Whether we can hold off a Ford Haas with fresh tyres is another question entirely. And we are getting somewhat close to Lando Norris here. I mean, our tyres are overheated. We're not going as quick as we should be going. 2.5 seconds over the last lap is not really doable. How much quicker were we? Not that much quicker. We're going to give up on this just to make sure these tyres... Should we give up on it? No, we'll just keep pushing. We'll keep going. We're not going to get... Yeah, we're dropping behind. Let's just not risk any mistakes with Sebastian Vettel. A 6th and 7th will be really good finish here if we can go ahead and do that. We do need to push with Pierre Gasly, though. We can go all out with Gasly here till the end of the race. Try keep him ahead of Joseph Newgarden, who looked like he was on for a race win here. Had a really good start, got himself up into first place. Has just dropped off. A second pit stop has killed him here. Mercedes finished 1-2. Bottas in the Alfa Romeo gets on the podium. A good 4th place finish here for Alonso. A decent finish for the McLaren of Lando Norris, and then we are hopefully going to get 6th and 7th. Gasly has now... Have we finished? Yeah, we have finished. We went past it ages ago, and I'm still thinking the race is going on. But yeah, we get a 6th and a 7th place finish. We get the 2 Ford Haases in the points as well. And Albon gets one of the AlphaTauris into the points as well. The 2 Renaults out of it, the 2 Ferraris out of the points as well. Not a good race at all for Ferrari. Their struggles continue this season. There should not be any risky parts. There we go with a 6th and a 7th finished. So Charles Leclerc now does have a 42-point gap. He's the first driver this season to go past the 100-point mark. Lando Norris jumps up to 3rd in the championship. Gasly stays in 4th. It is Nico Hülkenberg who has dropped down. So Norris doing pretty well. Sainz up there as well. Mercedes now have a 31-point gap to us. McLaren 56-point. Ford Haas 4th. Ferrari 7th though. Ferrari really struggling this season. So I'm pretty happy with that. If we can stay somewhat close and then try and excel in the tracks that we're stronger at. We'll just have a look at what the next track entails. I think it's Spa. I think it's Ardennes, the Belgian Grand Prix. It is, so the engine is crucial. Front wing and gearbox. I mean, the front wing were 3rd, the gearbox were 4th. It's just the engine's going to let us down again. I mean, the gearbox is crucial. We could be a little bit slow here because Mercedes do have the ultra-powerful engine. I mean, the front wing is 8th though, so that should put them in line with us. So maybe we're going to be a little bit comparable in terms of pace with the Mercedes. But anyway, we'll just have a quick look at the interview with Paul Tracy here. Qualifying seemed to go well for you. I mean, we had a better race than qualifying. I mean, I know Gasly had a pretty decent qualifying, but we did a lot better in the race. We'll just do that. And yeah, everything staying the same. So yeah, that is it for this episode. Pretty happy with the result. Obviously, I'm not happy with Mercedes getting a 1-2 though, but we did know that it was coming at some point. Mercedes have got that engine, and that is the 4th win this season for Charles Leclerc. His teammate George Russell, he only second podium. There was a long stretch there right up until the last race in Canada where he's been pretty disappointing this season. Leclerc has finished outside the points in 3 races. Thankfully, that has happened. All the other races he's finished on the podium for. If Leclerc had been on the podium or at least scored points in those, Mercedes would be even further ahead. But anyway, that is where we're going to leave this episode. Hope you all enjoyed. But until next time, I'll see you down the road. Goodbye.